Good morning, folks. My name is Haas Hayes, and you are watching my first ever YouTube video. Now, first things first, thank you so much for watching and supporting. Truth be told, I don't know where I'm going with all of this, but whether it helps one person or a million, it just feels like something that I've been fortunate enough to do, given all the people who've helped me in turn over the years. So, the purpose of this channel really is to live, learn, and pass on. Of course, you're probably still wondering who I am and what I'm even all about. So, to give you a little background on myself, I am a London, Ontario native. I am a human kinetics student at the University of Windsor, soon to be graduate. I specialize in sports psychology. I've been a world level powerlifter, second in Junior World Championships in 2018. I'm a national level bodybuilder currently 1 week out, actually, from my next pro qualifier, which is the Canadian National Pro Qualifier in Toronto, Ontario. All that being said, if you haven't guessed already, majority of this page will be dedicated to physical health and education, making sure people have an informed idea of what they're doing amidst this hypersaturation of information on social media. That could be nutrition, that could be sports psychology, that could be the training itself for a myriad of goals, because I've been in quite a few sports over the course of my career in fitness, thankfully. So, I've had a lot of cooks in the kitchen. I've been fortunate enough to pick a lot of people's brains. And that's something that I'd be remiss not to pass along to the next person in line. So, that being said, this week we have my last proper, heavy, intense leg training session of this 28-week prep that started in April. I did do Vancouver Pro in July. Thank God. Amazing experience, wouldn't trade it for the world, but I did miss the pro card by a spot or two. So, despite making overalls, I am still on the hunt. I'm loving every minute. And let's roll that tape so you have an idea of how it went down.
And on to the meat and potatoes of this video, the workout. Starting things off here, you'll see that I'm using a seated ham curl, even though this is a quad dominant workout for the most part. Reason being is because A, I connect really well with it. It is a great active warm-up, a precursor to the quad workout. I'm not going to try and drop some exact literature on it or try to fortify that opinion with science. Truth of the matter is, feels good. Having a nice hamstring pump just makes your quad workout go that much smoother. And the one feedback you will never hear from a judge is your hamstrings were too big. So, benefits the rest of your workout, helps you get into it mentally, and this is something you can never have enough of. So, that's the logic on that. You'll notice that I am keeping a very slow and controlled tempo, very methodical, very intense contraction at the bottom. I'm not afraid to squeeze and freeze, which is one of my favorite cues that applies to almost every movement that I have programmed for the purpose of hypertrophy between my clients and I. This was actually a very high rep set too. I believe it was a set of 15, and with that tempo you can see these take a minute. So you're going to get used to the sound of my voice here, because this is no quick endeavor. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And that's the beauty of it, is that this time under tension with that volume, it'll get you. In between sets, I am really big on the stretching intraset. I guess it's a DC method. So dog crap training developed by Dante Trudel. He was really big on stretching after sets while the muscles still warm. Here you can just see me getting into it for this next set. Last, have your leg workout of prep. You got to go to a place that you may normally not, or at least learn to make your peace with it, make friends with it, and go all the way into the pain, because that's where the growth is. And that's the mentality you're going to need when you're holding a pose on stage for a couple of minutes straight and trying to hold that contraction without falling apart, fading, and looking like a big bag of milk. So these leg extensions are actually, they're mean as a rattlesnake. They never miss. This is an old Atlanta setup. It's not the best leg extension I've ever used. The Techno Gym version next to it is actually a lot better, but this one's always free, and the Techno Gym is always broken. Very similar tempo here, although I'm not afraid to get after it, be a little more aggressive, and that one did me in, as you can see. More post-set stretching, the DC style. I hold these for about 40 seconds, for anyone curious. So, that number is subject to variation. I think anywhere between 30 and 60 is fine, but not something to split hairs over. Moving into the Cybex leg press. One of my favorite compound movements for legs. Couldn't tell you why, other than I just really like the resistance profile on this one. Suits me really well. I have a longer femur for a short guy. I'm only a little over 5'8", so not tall by any means, but I'm a little long-legged, which is probably why I was a halfway decent track athlete at the national level before I switched over to all this powerlifting and bodybuilding stuff. Gotta retreat into my underground sports now. But you can see in this last rep here, again, we're going there. We're going all the way to failure, as you still should. And the last heavy leg workout prep. This hack squat. It's actually a very good setup. I believe this is Atlantis too. You'll see that again, almost everything I do is with a very controlled eccentric and a pause in this case as well. Suits the nature and the kind of line of pull, the resistance profile of a hack squat very well. Although I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying you should do it all year round. I'm not saying you should nerd out and major in the minors. You still want to see the forest and the trees, which is if you're achieving a proper range of motion, if it burns, and if you're keeping time under tension, you're probably going to grow, especially if you're going to failure on a regular enough basis and following that up with the appropriate recovery in terms of your rest and nutrition. Now, that said, I actually felt a lot worse than it looked. In hindsight, it looked like I might have had one more. I know I didn't. You get this late in prep and the writing's on the wall. You know exactly when your goose is cooked, and there's no two ways about it. Last week I tried that and went for one more, and it did not move. So, being smart, not risking a quad or IT band tear, which I've done in the past on those. So, it got the job done. Hurt like a mofo, and now we're on to bodyweight lunges immediately after that last set. For the record, most of these are about 2 to 3 working sets. At this point, usually the second one is wow, that's a tongue twister. Significant drop-off in reps. I compare the last week or two of prep, if you're in shape, to kind of look like recovering from a common cold. Your strength is actually usually pretty there. Like, your top end is not bad. It's not diminished in the slightest for the most part, but your rep strength is in the gutter. So you will find yourself gassing out quicker. You will find yourself, first set, you might feel brilliant. You might feel, hey, 15, oh, that's nothing. That's baby food. Let's go. Second set, you might only get like 9. Third set, you might get 2 to 5. It's not pretty. But these are the throes of the tail end of prep, and you just got to prepare yourself for that and understand it means you're probably ready or close to it. As you can tell, I'm just doing some dumbbell RDLs here. These are super light. I'm actually more concerned about the eccentric and the stretch because these bad boys, as great as they are hamstring death in terms of tearing and straining. So I'm just being careful, getting contraction, knowing that I've already kind of throttled hamstrings earlier this week. So I don't need to put all my eggs in that basket. It's more just about tension, activation, getting some blood in there because this was about 7 or 8 days from the show. So as much as I do want to blow that last workout out of the park for each body part, you also need to walk that line and decide if the ROI is worthwhile. If the injury to reward ratio is not in your favor, if there's a higher chance of you tearing your hamstring on an RDL than growing your hamstring in 7 days, which I can tell you, you're probably not going to grow them. Yeah, you don't want to risk that. Obviously, that last one was just a seated calf press. I think they call it the toe press, and I believe that might be a techno-gym piece. I love it because you can load the calf without having to axial load to get it over your neck and back and feel it all in your glutes, etc. You can just feel it right in that calf, and it doesn't cross any joints besides the ankle. So that's brilliant. Adductor here, nice and slow and controlled. This machine locks you in and you're just ready to rock. There's nothing to say much about that. Moving on to our stretching. I think this was the only one I had time for today. Normally I do a bit more. I also use some rolling methods too, just personal preference, not saying they work. I know that's never been proven. But that was more so for both psoas and rec fem, the part of the quad that still crosses over your hip joint. I need to keep those nice and loose. That's a big part of posing. Moving into abs here, we had the hanging leg raises, which is about 12 to 15. 12 to 15, depending how quickly I fatigued, which the abs are fairly fatigue resistant. And then we got into our, here it is. we got into our vacuums. So it's 10-second vacuum superset with those leg raises, which can be done on a bed, they can be done hanging from a bar, whatever you like. So
Don't be afraid to like, subscribe, and comment. God bless. Thank you for the watch, guys. Take care.